right. Hello, ladies, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Insaka Talk Show. So glad you are here and you can make it. We have an exciting and packed show for you today with our wonderful, exciting guests in the studio. We have with us, before we get there, I would like to welcome our co host, Miss Priska van der Vestas Chirua from Baltimore, Maryland.
Thank you. Hi, Insaka family. Oh, I have red nail polish.
Oh,
Oh,
I
that's
see that.
different
The
and
first
pretty.
time I'm trying it out.
And honestly, you look different with that hair. A beautiful
That's true.
different too.
I was
Thank
going to say
you.
that. Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you. I look like Zoe now.
Yes, you look
Thank
young
you.
too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Winnie, welcome. You look radiant and beautiful as usual, my lady.
Listen, we are having the woman taking over, so we have to dress up and look pretty as all time.
And she's wearing
Representing.
pearls.
That's what I'm saying. Like, listen, everything was like, women taking care
All
of
right.
the world.
These are black pearls.
They are?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And we have the lovely Dr. Grace Mukupa from Washington, D.C. Dr. Grace, thank you for joining the show. You are not a stranger to the Insaka Talk Show. But for the sake of this episode here, we had to recruit you and bring you back because of your political science background. Can you tell can you tell our audience, our Insaka family, a little bit about yourself and what you do for those that missed you the last time you were here?
Oh, you ladies, don't act like you missed me or that stuff.
Every time.
But we miss you. You always. I love the Sunday show. I might not watch it sometimes at the same time when you air it, but I watch it at some point because you give us inspiration. So thank you for inviting us back. I'm Dr. Grace Mukupa. I do have my master's in political science and journalism. I thought I'd be working for CNN. That never happened. So we'll cover that, looking at the journey. I do have an MBA. I do have a master's in global gender studies, in where I traveled looking at the movement, women's movement in the Middle East, and I
Mhm.
lived and worked in Tajikistan, which is in Central Asia. So that gives the conversation that we'll have a woman, leadership, uprising, technology, and all those things. Yes, I do have a PhD in international development, but I'm here because your voices has opened doors for all of us who have voices behind, right? You have created
Mhm.
this platform. So I'm here
Mhm.
because the ladies have invited us and we want to share what we can. And our sharing of our story is not one size fits all. It's our personal experiences. I'm glad to be here and to be here with the sister that I love so much.
Thank you.
All right. And that brings us to the introduction of Miss Elizabeth Sichinga. Can you please introduce her to the Instaca family?
Fabulous. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't know what you're going to have today. And it's not her last time
Mhm.
to be here. She'll be back again. Miss Elizabeth Stitching, I'll call her my cousin from another mother because we share a platform. We worked for the African Union back in the day together. We attended events. But what was very inspiring about her was Zambia in a mind. People like California in mind, she has
Mhm.
Zambia in mind. And Hago was creating businesses. And I quote, she said in our quote, like, it's so many layers in hardship when it
Yeah.
comes to creating businesses in Zambia. Hago was
Yeah.
in her special way to create a window of opportunities for women and others who have entrepreneurship mind to have a way to create business. She is a passionate woman. She is active in DMV, maybe well, we invite her here, but she's in Pennsylvania. Well, sis, you got to come back here. But with that said, I want to introduce you to my lovely sister, and this platform has allowed me to see her in person. We talk, but not seeing each other. Hey, sis, I'm passing the mic to you.
Thank you so much. Do I have to say anything right now at this?
Yes,
Hey,
ma'am, you
well, it's
do.
up to you, but you're very welcome to the
Oh,
feel
okay, thank
free.
you so much.
Feel free to add on anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my passion really has been so much, like Dr. Cooper rightly states. I'm very passionate about women, the empowerment of women. Most of my life has
Mhm.
been actually in the field of gender studies, working with women. A little bit of my history when I was in Zambia. I worked for the YWCA. When the women's lobby in Zambia was being created, it was born at the YWCA. The women's movement in Zambia was born at the YWCA. We were the backbones of that movement. When you look at about
Mm.
support units set up, lobbying with parliamentarians,
Mm.
marching the streets of Zambia, we were the people that were doing it. The inheritance laws you talk about in Zambia now, fighting, property grabbing, and were the women doing it actually. So if you talk about the rich history of, when you talk about violence against women and
Mhm.
just everything about the movement in Zambia and the way you saw the women coming on, we were the people behind it. We were the architects actually
Wow.
working in the backgrounds. So I come with that rich culture. Um, um, I've also been to, not only did when I worked with the YWCA, not only did we advocate, but I also had an opportunity of traveling to various countries in Africa, in Europe, way up to Geneva, where we lobbied not only at Africa level, but this time at global level. When
Awesome.
yeah, we really presented women's issues. We critically analyzed them. We looked at the differences in what
Mhm.
gender issues in Africa and what about Asia and Europe. I mean, and some of the issues,
Mhm.
what impresses me is what Kamala Harris is bringing about are some of the things we're discussing then. She's now
Awesome. Awesome. Let's not put the horse before the carriage, though.
so
Let's not put the horse
yeah,
before the carriage. We'll
exactly.
get
So
there.
so you find that I'm saying to myself, I sit here and I'm saying,
Mhm.
it's God's time. This is
Amen.
the right time. And if people can say America is not ready for a woman, America is ready for a woman. And you know who's going to put that woman in that place? It has to be us, the women. Nobody will do it. The men will follow us. I was just
Mhm.
watching Rawlings yesterday.
Uh-huh.
I watched a number of
Mhm.
clips about what's going on right now. And
Mhm.
there was this discussion going on, and the men started feeling challenged. They're like, "You women." This
Mhm.
senator came in and said, "I can't remember. It was one of these ladies that I can't remember her name now. She's one of the show. She runs a show.
Mhm.
They mobilized black women yesterday in
Mhm.
48 hours. Was it 24 hours? They
Yeah.
raised over 48 million. No,
Wow.
they raised 1.8 million, but when they added everything that had been raised that time, it came to
Mhm.
48 million.
Wow.
Harris, and by the end of the day, she had raised over 100 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they said that the highest anybody has, she's already broken the ceiling. So, and
All
that's
right.
fundraising to be able to run her campaign. So I'm saying to
Okay.
myself, it's our
So,
time.
sorry, Miss Elizabeth. Sorry, I'm gonna
Yeah,
backtrack you.
yeah.
I'm
I'm
gonna. I
like,
can see you're really excited. I can see
I am,
you're really
I
worked up in this topic here. So,
am.
we have to introduce the topic first. So, give me a
Okay,
second.
awesome.
We'll, yeah, we'll get there in just a moment. We do
Okay,
want to break the ice, although I feel like it's broken already.
I do want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nelly. I wanted to say thank you. You talked about something very, and I was almost crying about property grabbing. Like you were
Mhm.
the person behind that. That has made a difference in women, and
Yes.
women that are losing their husbands now. It's made a difference. It's made a difference. So thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we are all beneficiaries. Those of us that lost our fathers at a young age have been beneficiaries of the fight that you started. In most of Africa, really, most African countries were suffering from that property grabbing issue. But now that is something that is a thing of the past. So it does take pioneers. So we thank you for being a pioneer.
thank
Now,
Let's
to
break the
break
ice.
the ice, to break the ice a little bit, I'm gonna ask you, ladies, Miss Elizabeth and Dr. Grace, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self, right? If you were to look back at the time when you were 20,
you. Mm,
what advice would you say, hey, Grace, don't even sweat that. Like it's not as big of a deal as you think it is.
Wow. I'll go first. Did you wanna go first?
Mhm.
So my 20 I grew up in Tokyo, Japan.
Mhm.
So when I was there, I was the only black person in Midon High
Mhm.
School.
Yeah.
I had another girl, Linda. Her father worked at the embassy. She was from Ghana, but she left.
Mhm.
And I was worried, but I realized that I didn't speak English. My friends from Germany and other places they didn't speak English, so I felt comfortable. And what I was worried was my success. You know, when you have parents die young, you said that, Miss Nelly, earlier, and you're growing up without guidance. You know, we know that certain things took our parents or our aunties, our cousins. You know, HIV/AIDS back in the 19 well, I'll say 1980s and
Mhm.
all that stuff. And you can tell my age, right? Because I love to feel older too. So what would I tell myself? Like, don't worry about it. If you ask me, why do I have a PhD? I have two masters in MBA and this, right? MBA Global Gender Studies. I did that because I thought I would not get a job after my parents had died. So I pushed myself so hard so I can prove to myself so I can get a job. I didn't
Mhm.
like MBA. My numbers, I was like, oh my gosh, man, I got to calculate and all that stuff. I mean, I don't love it. So I'll tell myself, don't worry. Sometimes it's not about your education, it's who you know. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
not about who you know, it's about where you are at the right time, at the right place. So I'll tell myself, don't worry. If you pray about it, you work hard, someone going to realize your potential. I
Mhm.
worked so I was like, man, I even slept in my car. I was homeless and all that stuff. I'm like, calm down, Grace. I'll tell myself, calm your crazy self down. You don't need to push yourself that hard.
That's a good one.
Wow.
Very
That's
inspiring.
amazing. Very inspiring for real. My daughter wants to study Japanese. Actually, it's one of the classes she'll be taking this when schools open. So I think I know who to send her to.
Yeah, Auntie Grace is ready for your daughter. Don't be mad when I spank her though. But anyway,
All right. Miss Elizabeth, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? What advice would you give to yourself, knowing what you
I
know
would
now?
say
Mhm.
life is just a journey,
mm,
Mm.
and don't beat yourself so hard. Take it easy and take each step as it comes. There's going
Mhm.
to be ups and there are going to be downs. There are going to be highs and there are going to be lows. And really, if you beat yourself too much,
Mhm.
that's where you find young ladies or young boys saying, I give up. I want to
Mhm.
commit suicide. I can't go any further.
mm,
Yeah.
And especially, I've found myself counseling, yeah, youths,
Mhm.
and there have been times when people are late, they just walk into my hands.
Mm.
I'll give two examples, very quick ones. One was when I was at the YWCA. I was a youth coordinator at the time, and this young boy walked into the Y, confused. He was ready to commit suicide.
mm.
He he's for him the world has had ended. So I sat with him and I spoke to him. And to be honest with you, the boy ended up working at what you call this UTH mortuary. He got
Wow.
a job,
Wow.
and his life was saved. To cut the story short, the other person, just recently, he's not so much a youth, but his wife calls me and she's crying. She says, Mom, I'm an orphan. You know, my husband is an orphan and he's given up on life. He wants to commit suicide. I don't know what to do. Right now, as I'm talking to you, I've been counseling this young
Mm.
man. He even went into alcoholism and into everything. He's now going through lessons. He wants to stop drinking. He's coming back around. He's so happy. The family, I'm saying to myself, I'm looking at this because we're talking about 20s.
Right.
I'm just giving examples of these are young youths who just reach a point where they say, I'm done.
Mm.
Life is a journey. Take each step as it comes. All of us,
Amen.
none of us
You've been
who
there.
say they've had it smooth from beginning to end.
Mm.
Some have been homeless. Steve Harvey slept in his car. Where is
Mhm.
he today?
Yeah.
So if we
Yeah.
could look at, be more positive and less negative. Let's get rid of the negatives and focus on the positives as young people, and life, everything will be okay.
I love that. Be more positive and less negative. And life is a journey. Take it as it comes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Amen. Thank you so much, Miss Grace. Sorry, Miss Elizabeth, for sharing that truth and for sharing even some of your personal stories and journeys. So we are now gonna go dive into our main topic of the day,
I
and
want to tell what I would have done. What would I have told my
Thought it was
20-year-old
just for
self?
the guest.
yes, it's just for the guests because of time.
That's not fair.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, in 30 seconds or less, can
I
you
would
tell us?
tell myself to be more kind to myself and to be patient.
Okay,
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank
okay,
you.
That's
That's
good.
less than 20.
okay.
I just
We
had to
need
break the
in less
ice.
than 30 seconds.
I think I'll tell myself just take it easy, Winnie. You
Thank
got
you.
this.
Less than 30 seconds. Nelly,
I was
Why are you catching me? What see? I want to take more time.
You can take my time, Winnie. Go ahead.
No, no, no. That's enough.
we just wanted to break the ice. Nelly, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, seriously. Like, don't take yourself too seriously because nobody else does. That's what I would tell my 20-year-old self,
Right.
you know. But yeah, so diving into the main subject. Sorry, I'm so eager about this subject, y'all. The dark side of success in politics is what we want to talk about. And as we discuss this, obviously, you know that there are some changes that have happened in the United States. Unless you're living under a rock, you do know that President Joe Biden on Sunday announced, July 21st, announced that he is dropping out of the presidential race, and this came after a number of incidences. It started from the debate, where he faltered in speech, and at some point he was referring to Kamala Harris, but said if I had no trust in my vice president, I wasn't going to appoint Trump, when he meant to say when he meant to say Harris. And then also he called President Zelensky of Ukraine, mistakenly called him Putin. So all these little things put together spurred a lot of people, a movement of, hey, can you step down, step down, step down? And you know what? I am so happy that he graciously, accepted, and he decided to step down. He didn't have to listen to them. We've seen in Africa and other parts of the world where politicians wants to die on the seat,
Mm.
or unalive on the seat, whatever you want to call it. But they he took, the Winnie, can you stop sipping so loudly?
Mm-mm.
he
Not you.
he took the mature way, and stepped down. Not only did he do that, he also endorsed his vice president, Kamala Harris, to run as the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party, which is part of the reason why we are having this discussion. So I will pause here and ask Dr. Grace, first of all, how do you feel? Yes. How do you feel, Dr. Grace, about this as we talk about, Kamala Harris now being president? We know that she received 1,500 delegates that are needed to clinch the presidential nomination for the Democratic Party in less than 48 hours of Biden dropping out of the campaign. I think that's a record, right? I think that's a record. I don't think that in history we have seen someone clinch those delegates as quickly as she did. So let's talk about how ego and narcissism comes into play in politics, right? We are looking at two candidates here. We're looking at Joe Biden, sorry, not Joe Biden. We're looking at Donald Trump, and then we're looking at Kamala Harris. when we look at these, issues that really are part of the dark side of politics, how do you see these two candidates play out in terms of how they handle their ego and narcissism? How does that play out? What do you think, Dr. Grace?
Well, since you asked me first, um, I do think they play a critical role in. I just want to remind you, Kamala Harris is my sorority sister, and she came through Howard. I came through
Mhm.
the Connecticut chapter. In
Mhm.
terms of narcissistic, for me, I'm not always defending Kamala Harris. By the way, prior to Biden, I just want to remind people, prior to Biden, well, I also want to tell you that this is my opinion because I am actually an elected official for Virginia,
Mhm.
for the a party,
Mm,
and I was elected as education, so I oversee the education committee, like how education in the entire state of Virginia, and in
Mhm.
our mainly in our what we call, what is this? Is it the Fairfax County is the largest county in Virginia, and I was
Mhm.
a delegate for Virginia, so we knew the delegates and how they're going to vote. We knew what we were aligned with, and so I just want to say that. But also, I'm very critical of my sorority sister. But like I said, my this is my opinion. Um, Prior to the election, I was like, okay, she's doing this, but sometimes you don't see behind the curtains.
mhm,
Mhm.
When someone open a curtain, they give you a platform to speak. You speak from your voice. You
Right.
women, I mean, this is a part of women. We have done that. So when you talk about ego, you talk about narcissism. I do
Mhm.
think success can lead us
yeah,
people, human beings, to inflatten our ego.
yeah,
Mhm.
Narcissistic tendencies, like sometimes, like for leaders, I've been a leader, and leadership for me is that's within your household where you're taking care of your brother and
Yeah.
sister,
Yeah.
or whether
Mhm.
you're in an office within that leadership role, which
Mhm.
overseeing and whatever. I do think that you can overlook your flaws and dismiss the feedback people tell you, because people tell you you're good and not good. Guess what? Your ego is high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. As a professor at the State University of New York, I was
Mhm.
teaching global gender studies. Yes, this is how I connect with my sister
Mhm.
Elizabeth, because of that gender aspect. I was teaching, and students gave you ratings. Your
Mhm.
rating for students, how you like them, but also the rating was how much you give them
Mhm.
leeway. They can
Mhm.
come to your class with speakers in their heads and whatever. So the rating for me was not something that I accepted. So with that said, I do think that through research, I do know that on a reference to 2006, a researcher who said leadership, once you are elevated on a platform, you're gonna use that for you to elevate yourself. You're gonna have an overconfidence,
that's
which
true.
Yeah.
often leads to poor decision making because you have an
Yeah.
ego in your head, right?
Mhm.
Diminishing your team morality. You see
That's
Yeah.
true.
yourself
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
person who should be on top. So I'll leave it at that. But my point, I have had experiences, but you got to take a step back and question yourself, and
Mhm.
question yourself. Yeah, egoistic makes you feel good, but it's not always good.
Yeah.
It's not always good. So I'll pass the mic back to you. I think I've said
Okay.
my piece. Thank
Thank you, Dr. Grace. I'll hand it over to you, Miss Elizabeth. What is your take, right, on this one? Because we know that success, like Dr. Grace said, can inflate your ego,
you.
which can lead to narcissistic tendencies. And some leaders believe that they are invincible and become blind to their flaws and dismiss feedback from others. So, with that being said, do you feel that we've had that experience with the other candidate?
Uh,
Because I
You can
certainly
say the
do.
name.
I wanted to,
Because
yeah,
I
actually,
certainly do feel.
that's where I was actually heading to.
Hmm.
Just to nail it, it's if you look at the way President, I mean, the our former President Trump has been, he has, oh my goodness, oh,
The two words
he, he,
describe him.
he does put you off. He
Hmm.
does put you off because it's about it's about him, and it's not about the people. Now, when you are a leader, you should put the people first,
Yeah.
and you should look at the interests of the people they want to serve.
Mm-hmm.
But for him, it's about I. And then when you keep putting that I and not the we, then you're not going nowhere. Because who are you really,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I find President Trump to have a very big ego.
Yeah.
And that will bring him down because especially for most of us, we no. For me, it's a big no. I want a leader that I'll be comfortable to approach, to
Mm.
talk to, and to one that I feel if I had present a problem or an issue, at
Mm-hmm.
least even if they have no answer, they will comfort me. They will make me feel I presented my position, and they'll think about it. They'll get back to me.
Hmm.
Mm.
You won't get that in Trump. Trump is about I. And if I compare from what I'm seeing, though President Biden is off now, but if I compare between Trump and Harris, and you ask me as a person
Mm-hmm.
to go out and maybe if I had to choose between the two, who I would be comfortable talking to, comfortable
Mm.
sitting with, and seeking guidance or direction, I would be more comfortable to go to Harris.
Harris.
Yeah.
You want a leader who will not elevate themselves to a level where you want a leader who will bring themselves down to your level where you're comfortable. Because
Yeah.
really, when they are there, just the fact that they are there up there is threatening. Now, with
Yeah.
you're already not comfortable with them because of the position they're at, and then they add salt to a wound. I mean, that's what I see in Trump.
Unapproachable.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't approach them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Winnie, on
Oh,
the
on
next
that
point.
part, I think for me, when it comes to,
No, no, the next point.
oh, we're moving on to the next point. I thought we are gonna say, no, you've took me out of the, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's okay, Priska, you want to take it?
Maybe she only
You guys.
You throw me out.
What was the next point?
Well, we're talking about ethical dilemmas in politics.
Isolation, I think you said that, or something.
That
I
was,
don't remember.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So ethical, I can go ahead and talk about it. But basically we are you are our guests, you are our experts, right? So we just want to have this conversation with you as well as the Insaka family that is watching. So when we think about ethical dilemmas in politics, we think about how achieving success often involves tough decisions.
Mm.
Some leaders compromise their ethics for short-term gains or while risking long-term consequences. So, is that something we need to worry about with our presidential nominee for the Democratic Party? Is that something we need to worry about with Kamala? That do we think that she's going to jeopardize ethics for
for me,
politics?
she stands out like a very principled woman.
Mm-hmm.
She's solid.
Mm-hmm.
She's confident, and she's one person who's seasoned.
Mm-hmm.
Going back by her just her background and what she's done, she knows what she's talking about. On the other hand, if I had to look at President Trump, ethics,
Mm-hmm.
ish, I don't know, down the drain. Um,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
Okay, could you give us an example though? Yeah, okay.
you
Sorry,
want me to give an example?
for anybody, yeah, for anybody that has never maybe, heard of Mr. Trump. And again, we're assuming there's somebody out there living under a rock. They just
Mhm.
turn this on. They're like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
So, can we give an example of where we feel like he broke that ethical code, right?
For me, first and foremost, you're the president, right?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Just what happened at Capitol Hill when he lost the election.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big no-no.
Yeah.
That I don't even know why he's standing.
Mhm.
Um, and look at what he did to his vice then. Why has he picked a new vice? And why does the vice doesn't even want, why is it that the vice, previous vice doesn't even want to get close to him?
Mm.
What went wrong? You know, he's done. God
I can
help.
tell Priska wants to come in there.
No, no, no. I am agreeing with
I can
her.
come in there. I can come in there. I think
Mhm,
you're very right, Miss
Hmm.
Elizabeth.
mhm.
And then
Yeah.
we're just gonna be ourselves here. I'm not even gonna
Yeah.
go back. Listen, I'm voting, and I know who I'm voting for. Mr. Trump, thank you for your goodness. But right now, we
Which
need you to go
goodness.
sit down. It's goodness that is done on these people. I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody who thinking is better, me, I'll tell you, your goodness. Take it out.
Mm.
It needs to go and chill down, just like Joe Biden did. Just
Yeah.
go somewhere and sit
Yeah.
down. It's not a good politician. He comes here to bullying people. He
He's a
comes here to make everybody just like, oh, Africa is a shithole. He doesn't even care about none of this Hispanic or African American. He doesn't. He comes here telling us, oh, I can go on 55th Street and shoot somebody else and I'll be fine. Right now, they're saying, oh, when Trump become a president, it's not gonna be having any more of this allegation that is going through. So they're gonna cancel everything, and then we're sitting down here and trying to see what's the future for our children. My
Mhm.
children are Americans. I would rather have a president who's gonna make sure the next 4 years is about our life, our future of our children. Because if we put them there in the offices because we just want to be a red mega heart or voting for Trump, it's not okay. What's our future? I don't want my child to grow up and becoming, and then the world will be messed up. How are you going to be a president and be a friend with Putin?
Yo.
Not only Putin, how do you become a president with a list of criminal
Well,
things?
that's where,
You know,
Great.
you're a felon. An African, a black kid.
and that's
How
why I
many
want us to like really go
How
down.
many of
We
our
have
men, be it, black and brown, are in prisons right now in America for one
Mm.
felon?
Yeah.
They are
really,
serving
Miss Elizabeth.
sentences, but because
Remember,
he's white, because he's got money,
mhm.
Hmm.
should just walk just like that and going to plot one, and it is okay. No, it is
And
not
listen,
okay.
if
He
this
is
was
in prison.
Miss Elizabeth, you're very
Yes.
right. If this was Obama with all this felon, would we even let him be standing up there and say, I'm gonna be a president? If another black man had ever stood up there with all this felon, my gosh, would be another
He
thing.
was
Why are we even
he's the
entertaining
one
it?
who was asking for Obama's birth certificate.
Yes.
Let's show us his.
No, it says no, I'm so
Okay, Dr.
happy.
Grace. Dr. Grace, go ahead.
Sound like
It got heated real quick. Go
I
yo,
ahead.
this
go ahead,
this
Dr.
laid women laid. We sound like a democratic station. We are a
Mhm.
station that serve
Mhm.
anybody, right? So I just want
Mhm,
to remind us,
mhm.
because to our public listeners in
Yeah,
our audience, they're not always Democrat, and
yeah,
Yeah.
Republicans
that's
can be independent anybody. But I just want to touch you both, Winnie and Miss Elizabeth. You touch on an important issue when you talk about ethics in politics. Is it critical to maintain public trust?
true.
Yeah.
People work for government, you have to go through public trust,
Mhm.
security clearance, and all that
Mhm.
stuff. That whatever you're saying, because people are putting their lives into your hands. You are an
Yes.
elected official. You gotta be truthful. You gotta be fair, right?
Mhm.
You gotta be fair and in different ways, and you're promoting good deeds for the democratic. What does democratic mean? You adhere to principles, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Principles such as being honest, the integrity that comes with it, the transparency and stability and accountability that come with it. So, yes, I agree with the two people that spoke. I'm not leaning on anything. I just want to say, when you talk about honesty, you talk about integrity, we are looking at things like, when you're a politician, you gotta be truthful and maintain that,
Mhm.
right? You gotta stand on your ground. You got to
Mhm.
prove that I'm here for the people. And we know, in short, some people put their best interests forward, not the
Yes.
Mm.
country.
Yeah.
So just want to make a comment. I know Winnie, you said something. I
Hmm.
know about Elizabeth, you said something. So I just wanted to add that. But
You
we
know what?
yeah.
I'll say that about Dr. Grace, right? And I think we are all here in the land of what? Land of freedom, right? And
Yeah.
we can express our
Land of the
feelings.
free.
Mhm.
And
But
in
it
this
doesn't guarantee freedom. Your expression does not
Yeah.
guarantee freedom.
oh
Mm-hmm.
yes. So now I think what we're talking about when we come with a former president of the things that he stands for,
Mm,
I'm not to tell somebody who they're gonna vote for.
Yeah.
true.
We are the Instacar. We can just put our own opinion. This is my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
I
Right.
will not be here and say, "Oh, go vote for somebody else." But if I see Trump doing something, I'm able to call him out because
Yeah.
that is what I voted for. That's what I'm gonna vote for. If I did not vote for you, if even if you do something else, if you're a president and you have all this felon, I'm gonna call on you that. But
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that when I call on you that I'm voting for you or not voting for you, because we are
Mm,
the
mm,
Instagram.
mm,
We are making sure everybody's gonna listen to us.
mhm.
Whatever you're voting for, we're not here to like stop you to whatever you want. We are the Instacar. But if I'm calling on Mr. Trump, like I said, I'm being real. It's what we see. If any black man has ever gone there, stood up and be like the way Trump is carrying himself, it will be another third world war. But we are letting him stand there, and then everybody's just like, "Oh, that
Dr. Gray,
It
we
is
that's
okay. Because, yeah.
We haven't heard from Priska. Can we hear from Priska,
Yes,
please?
Ooh, yeah,
I
y'all
I
got me on this.
I stand with what Dr. Grace said. We are not just Democrats. We're here for everybody. We're Insaka, we're neutral. What we say is our opinion. But then I want to address what Winnie said when she said um about the former President Trump. It's so many what is so crazy and what I don't understand is so many Africans that don't even understand American politics that are not in America that are supporting Trump. They see him on TV. Why are you supporting Trump? He's a great businessman, but you don't go through the stuff that we go through when he calls us names and calls us. That's the part that I don't understand. And above all, when I saw Vusi Tembekwayo, Sisi, you know Vusi, right? Posted and said Trump has won. I was just so disappointed. I was like, the whole Vusi Tembekwayo is going to post that. I thought he understood, and I was so disappointed.
The issue that is going on here on that one from the African perspective is for them, they've lumped and they think so much that Trump is a Christian because the evangelical movement is supporting the
Mhm.
Republicans and him, and they believe in him. Secondly, they believe Trump is holier than thou because the Democrats they support homosexuality. That is the big thing that is there. If you can make them understand that Democrats are not only looking at homosexuality, they are liberals. They'll embrace everything. They are the easiest people. They embrace the black population. That's why most blacks have become prefer being Democrats because they will listen to them. They will listen to the Asians. They will listen to everybody. You come with your issue, they will listen to you and they will try to work with you. Family planning, PPAZ. Africa has PP. I mean, family planning as well, the whole of Africa. I mean, Zambia, they say PPAZ, but the whole of Africa has, they have the names that they call it. The headquarters is here. Why? What's their purpose? Family planning and everything. Who's trying to destroy it? It's a Republicans, and it's just everything. Once you start understanding what Democrats, who they are, what they stand for, and why they are called liberals, and you
Mm.
understand Republicans and why they are called conservatives and what they stand for, and you separate the two, you will be able to now start appreciating which people you can follow and believe in. But Africans are not there. For them, they just see Kamala Harris go to Africa. Oh, they've sent her to come and bring in whatever homosexuality.
You
It's
know,
not it.
you talked
Mhm.
about they're against family planning, and so I know they're against abortion and family plan. So it's kind of, and I just need some clarity. Are they against family planning and abortion?
Yes,
Both.
yes.
Okay. All right.
The thing that comes out so much is abortions. That's the one you hear them talk so much about. But effectively, it's both. But the same Republicans, if you follow them so closely, they are the ones that go to Africa and they are insisting you are all poor. Why are you overpopulating? Take
Mhm.
population, go. They would rather you apply family planning. You do everything you can to stop having children. It's okay for them, but it's not okay for you. So they're so, you need to go into all these, it's they get.
We can shift gears. So let's move on. Isolation, it's lonely at the top when it comes to politicians. And I'll give an example. With Kamala Harris was very quiet for like just before Biden dropped off. Do you think there was some type of like people talking in the background, like some type of isolation where she had to go in the background and just be quiet and just to prepare her? What are your thoughts, Dr. Grace?
No, I do think that as a woman in any society, and not just America, you are play. She's a first. I'm just saying the first, right?
Yes.
In her position, her husband is Jewish. They love each other, and I don't want you to judge me by who I'm sleeping with at home. I want you to judge me by the work I'm producing and what I'm doing for the country if I'm in that position. If I'm in a company within my home, judge me for that. So I do think that Kamala Harris, I do think, as Mr. Word said, she was not given a platform to express herself. It's just society. You have to take one step at a time. The border thing actually bothered me. I'm like, okay, you're going to the border. But she went and talked about abortion and stuff. She visited clinics. So for me, there's a systematic. So there's a difference for me to dismantle a system within one institution. But when
Hmm.
it's a systematic thing, it really has roots in society. And for Kamala, I do think that if I was in a position, I would have done the same way
Just to
as a
just
black
go.
a person they consider black indian whatever it is, but you're a person, a black and brown person, right? You're put in a box, a black and brown person. You had to, if you're aggressive enough, you're checked. She's loud, she's like
Mhm.
this. And she's intelligent. I heard someone yesterday say she's not she's intelligent.
No.
She can't
You know
get
what I
to
mean?
where
Someone
she is
said,
if
oh, she's
she's
not
not.
intelligent. Yes. So I do think that leadership isolation, sometimes you want to benefit the country. If you put your country first, I'm part of the AZDMV.
Hmm.
If they are a jeopardy and I'm like, oh, being loud, I don't want to put them at jeopardy. I'll calm myself down. So I do think
Right.
when leadership isolate and it's particularly pronounced, and especially when you're on top, you're gonna feel it. You will
Yeah.
feel it. But this is not a rule of law. It's just how society functions.
Hmm.
It is what's it this word? The norm.
Yeah.
You have rule of law, but if a norm supersede, people follow me and my family. They're like, we're Zulu people, we're gonna do this. We gonna follow that.
Yeah.
So I'll pass the mic to Madame.
Madame Elizabeth.
eh, eh. I'm having you. I'm feeling
Like
you
this
having.
can be
Feel free,
lonely.
feel free to pass it. Feel free to pass it. I'm sure Winnie is
I
itching to
think,
say something
in my
about it.
opinion, I think the isolation, um, if I compare the men and the women, it's worse on the side of the woman.
Yeah.
We
Always.
are, we we are very quick to assume because she's there, everything is okay.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
we need to realize that just the societal norms and the way they have classified us makes it harder for me when I'm going up, climbing the ladder, to find more of my fellows coming to support me and to back me, as compared to the men. And that's why I was so glad when I was watching videos and TVs and seeing, you call yourselves what, doctor, sorry, whatever sisters you've got.
Sorority,
Sorority
Sorority.
sister.
sorority sisters.
Yeah, you know, I'll just say my nephew was getting married last year, and the wife went to a certain school together with her friends, and they came at the reception and performed some little. I'm
Dance.
sure you know better, doctor, because they belong to the same. Uh, what do you call it? Because I've never done.
Sorority.
I yes, they belong to the same group, so they had something that they performed as a group, and they left. So I was left. What I'm like, oh, like really? Okay, I'm from Africa. We never had that when I was at Helen Kaunda or when I went to this college or did this. So it's different. It's unique, but what I saw in the richness that I saw in that was the support they gave her.
Yeah.
Mm.
They embraced it, they were proud of it, and she really felt so happy that they were there for her. And I'm seeing this with Kamara. Their women are grouping up and they're calling themselves this. They're all over. I'm like, this is going to be something. I'm looking forward to how this campaign will all go down and how the election will end. So we need that isolation is an issue for women. We need to support her as women. We need to rally behind her. I don't care whether people say you're Democrat or Republican. At this point, it's not about whether you're Democrat or Republican. It's about what issues are being presented and how do they affect you as a woman and your
Thank you.
children and your families.
And
Thank
and,
you.
and
If
I'll come through,
that's
Miss
done.
Elizabeth. Thank you.
Winnie,
Thank you.
sorry, I'm
That's not
sorry.
that.
Can
Oh,
I can I jump in? Sorry.
oh, the
Sure, go
Democrat.
ahead.
Oh,
I
she's a
wanted
Democrat.
Dr.
Follow
Grace
what
to
she's
say,
bringing out. The way she's tabulating the poll. The lady has laid it out.
thank you.
Very clear. Very simple.
You
Anybody, even a person who's never been into first grade, will get what she's saying. So, women, and I'm repeating, women, if you sit down and miss this opportunity, the train has taken off. Forget it.
Thank you, by Elizabeth. You said something very important there. Sorority sisters. We're from Africa. We don't understand it. We don't know it. I also don't know. Forgive my ignorance. Dr. Grace, she's your sorority sisters. Just give us a brief, short brief. What is that?
Yeah.
Yes, I actually, my mom had passed away. I went home when I was trying to join a sorority sister. You have to pay dues, but it's service above self, but also ethics.
Mhm.
You know, they don't just bring anyone; they look at your grades. So I joined undergrad. It's different. You can join, graduate and any other time, but it's sisterhood. And through the
In
process,
university.
I think, yeah. So I did. So you can do after university.
Okay.
You can do undergrad.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. So I joined undergrad in Connecticut.
Mhm.
But I remember people, my African people said, oh, it's a cult.
Mm.
My mom's sister
Yeah.
and her husband, they came to visit me in 2007. They came to my house at Pink and Green. They're like, oh my God. There's where now we in look. Musashta vichani vi batonga. My uncle's tongue. Mula chani nyo mula loa. They thought you're doing witchcraft and all that stuff. Like, why are the colors and all that? So anyway, with that said, there is a history correlating towards it. I'm a personal believer in treating people the way you want them to be treated. And when I joined, well, prior and after, there's Christianity embedded in them. You are a sister for life.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm in DC. Come on, when I go to Maine or I go to Atlanta, or if I visit Nelly, I can't visit any sorority. It's just like I'm part of the Rotary Club. I'm
Mhm.
part of the sorority, the Peace Corps, the Fulbright. It's the same way, but sororities that you go through a process mentally
Mhm.
put you in a place where you understand what sisterhood means.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember they might say, you guys drink, just an example. It's not a movie, this is my experience. It's an example. Drink with the same cup. What does that mean to you and I? If I say carry this with you, what does that mean? They take you back to history when African Americans, when you got an A and a white person counterpart couldn't, you can be killed going home because you got an A.
Yeah.
Right,
Wow.
at Howard University actually housed most of the foundation. So with that sorority, and I'm number 3, just to let you know. So they give you a number and a name, and that name reflect who you are, and you can take that, and you want your children and your ancestors and other people to be proud of you are. I was, yes, I was skeptical, but
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a member of the first and the finest and the first black sorority in America. It's not about race. I have my line sister from Egypt, and people are Caucasian and Spanish, and who are they can join. But it was the history is like it was started by women of color in 1908 at Howard University.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
Nice.
yeah, so
Thank
for me,
you.
I had to join something that really reflect my culture and my Zambian
Mm,
culture, my South African culture. I wasn't gonna join if it wasn't
mm.
gonna be
So
something
that,
that adds to my culture.
oh, okay.
Thank you. Sorry,
Thanks.
Winnie, I cut you off. I just wanted her to explain what
No,
that
that's
was.
fine.
Now you got me talking. I'm gonna talk all night. But
All right, our sister.
Our sister, bent out and stressed. Do you think the reason why Kamala Harrison was behind me, she was stressed out?
go ahead, sis Elizabeth.
The reason why she was what?
She was bent out. Maybe the reason why she was bent out, she was stressed out and she couldn't come forward and she was not like in the limelight.
I take that one.
Yeah.
I know it's meant for. I think here it's just a question of when you're in politics. It's very involving. If you've read the book by Michelle Obama, right? One or two of her books that she's read, it talks about, it gives you really a detailed explanation of the life behind the scenes. Like we only saw what we saw on camera, right? But they struggled to conceive. She had to, take fertility shots so they could have the kids. They had to plan like literally days. Hey, you'll be in town on this day. You won't be on the campaign trail. And then they could meet up. It was so all of this can lead to burnout and stress, right? But as a people, how do we help those who are in politics, those who are working for us? Like for example, Dr. Grace is serving. She's in office in her own capacity, right? How can we, the people around,
Mhm.
support those that are serving us within our communities and within our counties and country? I think maybe that's where we need to talk about, and how can
Volunteer, get
mhm,
on board. And
get
like
involved,
she's
right?
already, Kamara, if you hear, she's already saying, or even Trump himself, they're also talking about their teams, the campaign teams. They build a movement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
We build a movement that can,
mm-hmm,
uh, you know, uh, get whoever we want between the two into office. So
mm,
that helps reduce the stress because, like you rightly said, the, campaigning itself is a lot of work, and especially in a country like America.
mm-hmm,
America, it's a continent, 50 states.
Yeah.
You
It's
big
have
a
to
continent.
trot all the 50 states within that period. She has 100 days and some
yeah,
plus to go
yeah,
to all the 50 states, and these states are not, they're not like provinces in Zambia. They are countries in themselves with
mm,
governors. So
yeah,
going to all those, covering each, whether they'll go to 10 or whatever number, how do they plan to even manage to finish all the 50?
Mm.
mm,
Later on, do they even sleep? Do they have time to even take a nap or a cup of coffee?
mm-hmm,
How are they releasing that stress? Because it's an overload. I mean, it's just an overload, if I can just put it that way. So
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, they get a burnout. I even wonder how they do it. You really really need to be strong because it's not easy. But we need to, as supporters of whichever party you're supporting, we shouldn't sit on the edge and on the fence and just say, I'll just go and cast my vote on the day of voting. No, it's
Mm,
not just your vote. Did you convince your neighbor?
Mm.
yeah.
You
Need to
convince the
be
people
involved.
around you, your community.
Your
Are you
children.
able to get them out, get the vote out? And when I talk about that, that's when now I bring in the aspect of how I once got involved. I haven't yet this time, but I'm looking forward to. I'll create
Mhm,
time for that. But the campaign for Obama, I
mhm,
Hmm.
got involved at some time. We were canvassing, as we called it. You
Mm-hmm.
go and identify a center in your
mhm,
community where it's like a central place. Like you saw Kamara went to Delaware and
mhm.
made the speech there. Their
Right.
centers are set up across the whole country in all cities, in locations. Just identify one and
Mhm.
get involved. Be a volunteer. They'll
So,
give you people.
sorry, what are those, just to catch you there, what are those centers called for somebody that is watching and says, okay, if I'm doing a Google search,
Mhm,
for
mhm.
example, how do I find this center? What am I searching for in
Oh,
order to
I call
find this center?
them. They're actually they're. What was the right name we're calling them? Um, there are centers that are used for mobilizing. You mean for mobilizing and I can't remember the name we had for them because it's been a little while since
Mhm.
Obama's time. But we if you just say where the Democrats or where the Republicans meeting from, or campaign centers that where there are campaign centers, they will
Mhm.
definitely show you to where they
Mm-hmm.
are. And then when
I
you go
agree.
within the
I agree,
community.
sis. Yeah. So we serve on a committee. For me, I serve on an election. So I'm an election officer.
Mm-hmm,
I get sworn in at 5 a.m.
mm-hmm,
You
Mhm.
can't come at 5:07. You have to be sworn in by 5 a.m. Some people are late, so 5:05 is the last, and you can go home if you cannot do that. So we get sworn in, and we manage the election. You cannot leave. You bring your food, your drinks, everything in that area,
Everything.
right? So I do that for Virginia. So I've been doing that for 3 years. I'll do that for this past presidency, and I did that. Virginia, we had what we call Super Tuesday,
mm-hmm.
right? We had that last year, and third time. Like and we count the votes, and I carry the votes. What they do is you have a Republican and a Democrat.
Oh, that's
Right.
for the election day
Yeah,
now,
for
right?
the election, any election. I remember applying, and then the guy called me like, "You gotta choose a party." I'm like, "No, I'm an independent." I didn't want people to know. I was trying to hide. At some
Mm.
point, you gotta come out of the
You
darkness.
can't.
Whatever
Yeah.
happened in the dark will come out in the light. So
Mhm.
I was like,
Mhm.
okay, no, I'm this. I didn't want them to judge me by the
Mhm.
party. But the
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
guy said, guess what? When you put on an election team, we have a
Mhm.
Democrat, Republican. When you're independent, you're like in Florida. We
Exactly.
Yeah.
actually
Mhm.
care about you. You
Mhm.
gotta choose a party. I was like, are you kidding me? When I went to the Capitol Hill, every time they have a president, if it's Democrat, Republic, they switch. I went on a different floor.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
a house. I call the house a house of the animals because the Senate is kind of structured. So when I go in the house, they're moving boxes, and I said, "Well, I'm here to meet with ABC." And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "What? Why do I need to tell you?" I mean, these people are asking me. I'm like, "Is it because I got asked? Why do I need to tell you who I'm seeing?" Well, if they're Democrat, they're up, and we're switching offices. Well, you better know. Here, it matters. That's what the lady told me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matters. So I realized that our service really does matter, the voices. When I walk, I live in Virginia. Virginia is known for something. But
Yeah.
when you walk in a room,
Yeah.
you see someone that look like you voting, and some people assume you're Democrat. Some people assume they whisper stuff to you. You are not allowed to. I mean, we signed this confidential. They're like, in this is a March. They're like, you know, I'm not voting for somebody, and they're talking to me as if I was what they thought I was. I just
Mhm.
had to look at them. I was like, I agree, but I don't agree. I don't agree, but I agree. So with that said, we do have platforms where you can vote, platforms where you can do anything. And I want to touch base with Kamala Harris as vice president, if you guys don't mind, for 1 second. Well,
Go
not one,
ahead.
like 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
We have different countries where I've lived in where a vice president's role was different. Your vice president, you're actually the leader of the country. The
Right.
president is actually overshadowed. So with Kamala Harris, I do think that she was perceived as a vice president. She had to support the president.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Immigration was our top thing. And guess what? America and Trump and everybody else, immigration is a top thing. And I think she might have tried her thing, such as voting rights, immigration, which often require intensive, I would say, behind the scenes work. She might not have been seen as someone who's working, but you needed a strategic decision within the party to decide who's going to be there. She needed she's a first female,
Yeah,
not
that's.
just any female, but first
Mhm.
female, first black, first
Mhm.
Southeast Asian, first vice president. You got to wear all those hats. And these elements combined together might put a challenge and put you in a back burner. And I'll leave it at that.
I have a question for both of you when it comes to volunteering work. We have a lot of immigrants here. Some are American citizens, some are permanent residents. Who can volunteer?
Everybody. When I volunteered, I was actually, I only had a green card at the time.
Okay.
So, and my experience was, we met at the community center, and there were people there who were like leading, like leaders. So we got assignments. Like,
Mm.
you go in and they'll tell you, are you going to be doing robocalls? They'll give you a list of all addresses in the whole community of all Democrats. They had them. So you start making phone calls. You call them, are you going to vote? Hello, just the way we do. Sometimes people say, oh, you don't want, you're not picking up these calls. But you'd call and tell them the elections are coming up. Who are you going to vote for? Are you voting Democrat or Republican? And then they'll tell you, oh, I'm Democrat. And are you going to vote? You encourage them, are you going to come out to vote? Yes, I'll be coming to vote. Thank you. You mark their name.
You
And
don't need to ask who they're voting for. No.
yes, you just left it there. So you'd make those phone calls, and then we went door to door. We left, material, campaign material, stickers, and everything. Um, yeah, we called it canvassing.
Canvassing.
We were
Okay.
calling it
It's
canvassing.
still called the same, sis. Yeah,
Yes,
it is conversing.
so we did a lot of that, and we went on up to like even the day of elections.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And sometimes you find that some people even go to, like, the last time I went to vote, there was a lady who was standing by there, and she was Republican, and said, "Are you going to vote for my?" But this was not. This was for like judges. We have that wasn't like for the president. Those local elections. So anyway, that's what really happens. You find a location. You can just call. You can even call
All
your
right. Well,
call
thank
your
you.
senators, call your congressmen. Find out from them. They will explain all the details to you. What's the time?
Thank you.
Okay, let me just hang on for a little bit.
All right.
Yeah, I'll just
Okay, so while she's taking care of that, we'll go ahead and just we want to say thank you, Dr. Grace, for your time, on the show today and for your input. I really feel like that, time went by so fast.
Yeah.
There's so much that we haven't even touched on, to be honest. But in this, in conclusion, well, I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Just anything in regards to this election and what we can expect. Just speak freely about what you think, and any last words for anyone out there watching.
Fabulous. You ladies look fabulous, but you look too serious. What's up with y'all? Like, I'm here for fun. I mean, this
I'm
show is
not-
so fun. I tune in this show because you're all beautiful, and I love you guys. But
Thank you.
when people tune in, what should they know? I do think that when I teach students, I think their voices should matter. I should
Mhm.
not create a curriculum without their input. So
Right.
I'll reverse that to election. I do think that voters in the
Mhm.
United States, whether in some, I mean, let me tell you, different countries run differently. So let me talk about United States right now. So as voters in the U.S., it is crucial, I'll say critical, to be informed,
Hmm.
right? To be engaged,
Mhm.
to be proactive, to ensure that, like I said earlier, your voice is heard.
Mm.
And you yourself, as a candidate, you have to make sure that you understand the policies, because you asked us earlier about not candidate, like following rules and regulations, right?
Mhm.
As a
Mhm.
person, I could Google you and find out whatever it is.
Mm.
Yeah.
Be transparent, be honest,
Yeah.
understand
Mhm.
what is required for you to be in that thing, to be not, running.
For the
Let me
president.
tell you, I want to run. I wasn't born in America. I know I cannot run for president. I can run for vice president or be speaker of the house. I cannot. So when you understand the rules and regulation, I think it puts you in a position of understanding your role, and participating in electoral. I am sorry. I recruit people of color to
Mhm.
participate. We fear so much. Oh, me, I just joined. I became a citizen yesterday. I don't care. Your voice matters, because whatever
Mm.
rules and regulations that are made on a Capitol Hill, they affect you.
That affects
Mm.
you. Mhm.
And I've took an Uber. Someone's like, "Oh, you're from Nigeria." I said, "No, no, 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 no." They said, "Well, are you voting?" I am voting because my voice don't matter. Let me tell you,
Mhm.
I've voted since I became a citizen, and
Mhm.
I want to tell everybody who's listening, I became a citizen through the Rotary
Yeah.
that Mr. President, former president, is trying to get rid of. I applied the Rotary. I don't know if you guys you applied for the Rotary thing. I
Mhm.
got that.
Mhm.
That's how I became a citizen. Because people are like, oh, she married, she did this. No, no, no.
Mhm.
I got that thing. So
Yeah.
The
my
right
point,
way.
these rules and regulations do work. Let's move forward and support each other. But let's educate our communities. We are the voices that if I'm a citizen,
Yeah.
Masichinga one,
Mhm.
Mr. Priest, like Mr. Jessica, Mr. Whatever, whoever is there, the pastor or anybody else, let's educate our community so that they know their rules and regulation and their boundaries, because we want to protect our citizens and vote.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if you're not well informed, you're gonna make the wrong decision, honey.
Yeah.
That's
If
right.
Yeah.
you're informed, you're gonna make decisions that support you. And
Exactly.
I'll leave it up.
Thank you so much. Miss Elizabeth, in conclusion, in 1 minute or less, can you let us know what are your last words to the Insaka family regarding this upcoming election? Anything, your
Well,
perspective as
yeah.
well as your advice.
I would like to encourage every voter,
Hmm.
as long as you're a citizen, and please go and vote. Your vote matters, whether
Hmm.
you vote Republican or Democrat, but go and vote.
Yeah.
Don't sit back and say, oh, no. The other thing I would like to say within the 1 minute is we've all heard the way, I'll be frank with you, President Trump has been so negative about immigrants,
Hmm.
trashing immigrants.
Hmm.
Where all immigrants are illegal, they are the criminals, they are the thieves, they come to do ABCD, and they feel we vote Democrats. So when it's election year like this year, it won't be an easy year. And let every immigrant know
Hmm.
they will go after you, they will harass you, they'll do everything they can. If they had a way they could deport everybody, they could, because they think they're all Democrats and they're voting Democrats.
Mm.
And they're the people that rig the elections. And this has come up, and Trump has been very open about it. Not that I'm saying it but it's coming out. All I'm saying is be firm, be strong. If you have that card, that vote, please don't destroy it. Don't spoil your vote. Go and vote.
Thank you.
Amen.
For
Thank
me,
you
I
so
will be
much.
volunteering this year. I am going to look for a center. You said canvassing, right?
Yes.
Canvassing, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to volunteer and
Just
like,
call your state senator or your congressman. Find out. They will give you all the information you need, and they are very supportive and helpful.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Winnie said it right. Our children are being raised here. We
Mhm.
live here. our rights. Dr. Grace, everybody said it all, but what I'm going to encourage is please, guys, come out, go and vote. And when you vote, vote wisely. Vote
Exactly.
what is going to be in your favor, who is speaking to you. We are not saying vote Democrat, vote Republican, but vote for what you believe in
Mm.
and vote for what, for our future children.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Winnie?
Go and vote and be wise
Mhm.
because we have our children here, and we're not gonna say I'm going back to Zambia. Our children gonna forever be here. So
That's
let's just be wise. Our vote matters.
Yeah.
that's true.
That is true. And for me, honestly, I'm just going to repeat what Dr. Grace said: be informed and be engaged, right?
Exactly.
Be informed. First of all, you can't be engaged if you're not informed.
Mm.
So educate yourself on
Mhm.
facts, not fluff,
That's
but
a good
facts.
one.
Yeah.
Okay. Get your facts right and then get engaged. That means participate, that means voting and mobilizing. Whatever it is that we need to do, let's get engaged. There's no time to waste.
Yeah.
And
One more before you leave, Nelly.
mhm,
I'll just put one more. We live in a social media world, and then we see a clip of Kamala Harris said something, and then you pick. I'm just giving out. Or Donald Trump kissed somebody else. Let's not pick up on little petty
Mm.
stuff.
Mhm.
There are
Mhm.
important stuff that we need to look
Yeah.
into. Not
Yeah.
just because somebody did this and somebody did. Look into the fact, like Nelly said.
Yeah. That's true.
you know what, Winnie? You just raised a great point that I need actually to talk about. Thank you for bringing this up. I am in IT, and
Ooh.
one of the things that is out there is AI. AI is
Mm.
big
Mhm.
and it's huge. You
Yeah.
know, people are taking somebody's image and put a voice, and
Mm.
and it's something that they didn't actually speak themselves. So wherever you get your information, all those news places that you know, those ones that have weird titles, whenever you look at it, because they're trying to entice you to click on it, look for information from credible sources,
Yeah.
credible news sources: ABC News, MSNBC News, CBS News, even Fox News, okay, CNN News. Look for credible sources of information,
Mhm.
not just Daily Beast or this, that.
Yeah. That's true.
You will find yourself clicking on something that is not a factual thing, but something that somebody manufactured using AI. So be very careful and don't believe stuff that is not factual.
Mm.
So
That
We
was a
want to
good
thank
one.
you guys. Oh,
thank you.
Dilly. We want to thank you guys for having me and my sister, Miss Elizabeth. We appreciate you guys. And we watch your show. We're a big fan. Continue
Thank
doing what
you.
you're doing.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank
you. Thank you
you.
so much for being on the show. The movie of the week is Shirley on Netflix. Watch it and thank us later. All
Mhm.
right.
Thank you so
From
much for
us,
having me.
goodbye.
Mhm.
From all of us on the Insaka Talk Show, have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you.